One, two, three.
Welcome to the Smartest Amazon Seller Podcast. Your host, Scott Needham. I have with me one of the most well-rounded individuals that you're ever going to talk to in the Amazon e-commerce ecosystem. He has worked alongside agencies, sellers, brands, software, just to name a few. He worked for Jungle Scout. He worked for Blue Wheel, an agency. He worked for NetRush, and that I've only covered about half of them. And so this is a lot of experience, and I'm so excited to have Rob Principe. We're ready to jump in, and there's a few subjects that I know we're going to hit regarding TikTok and and software services that I know I'm going to learn a lot from. So excited for the conversation. Rob, welcome.
Thank you very much for that intro. I appreciate it. Yeah, when you name all those companies, it really hits me. I mean, I've been in CPG since 2009 and ecom since 2012 or 13,
Okay,
depending on.
I'm curious. I
Yeah.
have taken a large interest in
Mhm.
CPG, probably
Mhm.
the last 3 months, but 2 years. It's kind of just come to my attention. When you say CPG, I'm curious what you think of.
Sure, sure. So in my world, CPG is mainly health and household. Most of my experience and expertise is in vitamins, minerals, and supplements, sports nutrition, and then pet. So consumables, consumables, and more
Okay,
consumables.
does CPG mean consumables?
It's consumer packaged goods. So most of the time it's going to be consumables because it's hard goods or it's consumables, and I would consider CPG consumables.
Okay. Okay. And hard goods is not like let's say for example, Logitech, not CPG.
Not. So if you're in pet, a dog collar is not CPG, your dog's food is.
Okay. I just want to the truth
Hmm.
is there's nuances to the way that people say words. And I always like to know, for example, when someone talks about someone that sells on Amazon, they talk about a brand and then they talk about a seller. I'm like, they're slightly different things. And
Or they're
I
the
would
same if the brand is the seller.
exactly. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're the same.
Uh-huh.
And, um, and I don't know. I'm a stickler because on my team,
Mhm.
we got to be clear how we communicate, who we're communicating to. Sometimes I feel like we're talking to brands. Sometimes we're talking to sellers, and lately I'm very fascinated by CPGs. Um, that's why I ask.
Mhm.
We're creating a few top 10 lists for
Okay.
these CPG categories. We did energy drinks, and I just randomly threw that on the energy drinks subreddit, and it was it hit number one. They loved seeing here's the top 10 energy drinks on Amazon, and it was the White Monster, that flavor of there's hundreds of flavors. That's the
Hundreds.
flavor
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
the all time. And I don't know, and it's turned into um, my interest as a consumer. I'm the
Mhm.
guy that I'm going in the protein bar, the drink aisle, and I'm like, what's new? It's just fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, you and I can't help but look at it through a different sort of lens,
No,
right? So
exactly.
if I watch a commercial or I'm walking the aisles, I always look at where are they? Are they bottom shelf, top shelf, in the middle? Are they eye level? Is it different sizes? It's just where my mind goes. Kind of, it's annoying sometimes, sort
Yeah.
of. I annoy myself. As far as lists, people love lists. Products, sports, cars, whatever it is, people love lists. But what I break down is there are so many subcategories within those lists,
Uh-huh.
even with energy drinks. So, top 10 by what? By volume, by average review, by
Yeah.
review count, by there's just so many different things. There are energy drinks that I personally won't drink, and there's ones that I would drink. So, a top 10
Well,
list that included Monster and Red Bull, and all of those wouldn't interest someone like me, but those are all the top sellers, right? So that's where my mind goes. Is like top 10 lists are great for the masses, but then how granular
So
would you get?
yeah, I'll tell you two reasons why like this is like interesting to me. Um, uh, these are very like these categories are all like American brands.
Mhm.
I mean, Red Bull's European, but still like they're um, American brands. You're not fighting against like Chinese brands. These are brands that people have affinity to, and because you can't help it if you eat something like your relationship with that brand is just like way more. And um, so, and then also challenger brands inside these categories can go from 0 to 100 million fast. Like the dream is alive in this category. Uh,
Mhm.
I've seen some that started uh, in the last, 12 months, 24 months that are now like seeing on Amazon, just Amazon, 50 million plus. Uh,
Yeah, see, those are crazy numbers. One that pops into my head, which may be a cautionary tale, like who knows, because I don't know what their goals were, but Prime.
yeah.
Prime hit the market like gangbusters in like a simple, almost generic looking packaging. Like it was almost like somebody's 11-year-old kid made it, right? But speaking of kids, they somehow struck a chord with kids, like young kids, like Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And I
Yeah.
know that because I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old daughter. And all of a sudden, my wife was going shopping and they weren't asking for Gatorade. They were asking for Prime. And her answer was, no, there's no Prime in Costco. So I'm not buying Prime. But then there was Prime in Costco.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really because it was better or whatever the case was. It was because they went to school and kids were drinking Prime. Now that trend is over. Is Prime performing well? I have no idea, right? I'm not tracking Prime, but my kids aren't talking about it anymore. So it's with the right backing and the right social media strategy slash funds. I don't want to say it's easy,
No,
but
no,
if
no,
you
no.
have a decent
No,
product, you
it's
can
like
make waves.
it's like there are fewer products where like positioning just
Mhm.
like matters. If you know Red Bull's like story, the story that they at least they tell, it wasn't legal in some countries yet, and
Mhm.
so like
Mhm.
word of mouth and like they're like it's an oxymoron. They call it Red Bull, but they talk about it giving you wings, something that kind of like so like they created this category straight off of like just like positioning, and
Mhm.
Prime had that. So I pay attention. I just think it's actually kind of been fun for me. And when I Prime Day now, I will like look at like okay, who are the newer brands that are like putting like crazy deals?
Mhm.
And to me, I'm like Prime Day doesn't go 3 years in a row now. I've probably bought like 3 or 4 cases of just like whatever, like you know,
Really?
a new flavor, a
Yeah.
new something. And I actually like I'll usually drink like one or two, and if I don't like it, I'll go take it to the office fridge at work, and I'm like, here you guys go.
Just have at it. Now, in your experience, if there is a new brand, whatever, energy drinks, bars, whatever the case may be, can you infer what their overall goals are by how they hit the market? Meaning, if you see brand X bar literally take off, can you tell if they have PE backing? Can you tell if they've taken
No,
a lot of funds? Can you tell simply by the amount of volume they're spending, where they're
I
showing
think
up
if
in
someone,
search?
I think if someone goes like, uh, it may depend on category. I've got one in
Mhm.
mind that went from 0% of the market last October
Okay.
to 12% of the protein bar market today.
In
Uh,
7 months.
yeah, yeah, no, no. The founder is he's the one that like did RX bar.
Okay.
He
Hmm.
sold it, waited
Hmm.
his like his like non compete, and then launched a new bar. And I didn't like watch this play out. I was just doing some data and I was like, where the hell is this David bar coming from? It's like,
I've
oh,
heard of David Bars. Yeah.
I was
I
like,
I
this,
haven't had one yet, but yeah.
I was like, okay, this is what that RX bar guy did. And it just blew up. And there's one specific reason it's positioned as the most protein dense bar on the market, which is correlating with a trend of Ozempic.
Yes. Yes.
Ozempic, if you're a guy specifically, like, I mean, like, if you work out and you're on
Mhm.
Ozempic, you have to take protein. You have to, like, or you're going to, like, your muscles are going to shrink. So, people, like this bar becomes, it's kind of riding that wave a little bit. It's an
And that
extreme.
wave isn't going anywhere. GLP-1s are not
Yeah.
going anywhere. And I think that you're right. I know several people at small brands, really small brands that are getting off the ground, and that's their positioning. It's almost creating this like cottage industry, right? Of you're on it. Like when we were kids, or I can't speak to when you were kids, but when I was a kid, it was always like, there's no magic pill, there's no silver bullet that's going to help you lose weight. Like you need to
Yeah,
do the work. Well, now there is.
I know.
Now there is, right? And like anything in life, there's nothing is perfect. There's
I have the first
99% of the time, there's a downside, and there's a downside to it. So now you have people with brands who are looking to solve for that, right?
Yeah,
So
there's
he hit the nail on the head.
yeah, no, it's I think he was already developing it and not necessarily targeting this GLP-1, but that's some good coattails to ride on, you
Yeah.
know.
And people want protein. Like I want protein, and I
Yeah.
have trouble taking, like ingesting enough protein to even hit like,
Oh,
if you work out, depending on who you ask, especially if you're a man, you should take between what,
but
70 and 80
like
percent of your body weight in
so
grams of protein.
this is the David bar.
Okay.
Like I said, I saw it
Is this a
taking
paid
off.
advertisement, Scott? Are like you getting
No,
paid to
no.
plug that?
Here's what I'll be honest. It doesn't taste that great.
None
It
of them taste that great. RX bar didn't taste great.
um, Bear Bell and Built Bar, they're good. They taste closer to candy bars than anything else I've ever had.
What
Uh,
was the first one? I've had Built Bar before. I haven't had the other one.
Bear Bell,
I'm
just
gonna have
go
to look that one up. Mhm.
Bear Bell is killing it. They're
Okay.
if you're paying attention to the protein bars right now, Bear Bell is like
Mhm.
they're winning. And you eat one, you're like, tastes closer to a chocolate bar than anything I've had.
Okay. Okay. I
Um,
am willing to take in a few grams of sugar if something tastes relatively good. I think bars, and I think a lot of products, especially in natural, right? So my first CPG job was with a supplement brand called Megafood, who I started there in 2009, working in the original house, which was a split ranch in southern New Hampshire. And I went through two buyouts with them. So from the original owner to private equity, and then from PE to Pharmavite. And so I say that because my roots are in natural. And then to see, first of all, it explode, and then how bars have progressed. Like they have just absolutely, like there was only a few bar brands in 2009, and they really
yeah,
weren't good for you, right? Like even if they said they were, they really weren't good for you.
I,
But then I think it swung too far the other way. And I think a lot of these bar brands or natural product foods in general, I think they jumped the shark a little bit with like zero sugars, zero, which is, I get it, but but they still have to taste good.
yeah,
People will take 2 or 3 grams of like naturally occurring sugar if it tastes good, like, or at least be palatable. But I'm going to
yeah.
try that
I
bar.
mean, even if it's a better for you. Well, you asked an interesting question. I didn't like you said, like, can you tell if you look at a brand
Mhm,
if they're PE backed venture or
mhm.
bootstrapped? What are some telltale signs?
I think if they just burst on the scene, right? We know that in 2025, it's never been more expensive to launch. And the irony is, it's probably most expensive to launch on marketplaces like Amazon, right?
Really?
So, yeah, I think if you're going from a standstill brand and you want to ramp, depending on category, but in my experience, nine times out of 10, um, it's,
Is it just the cost to acquire a new customer is just
yep,
like,
yep.
$50, $100 to acquire
It's
a single
just,
customer?
it's just so expensive. It's a pay to play platform. If you are in a popular category or subcategory, it's going to cost you so much to even get noticed. Organic rank is like Bigfoot or the abominable snowman. It's just this mythical creature that people are just trying to find. And really, where that dovetails perfectly is, I mean, I haven't seen any data behind this, but a lot of people like me speak to this anecdotally, is the best way to drive organic traffic on marketplaces now is to drive off platform. And so I think what a lot of brands are doing, and most of the time I advise them to do this, is nothing happens in a vacuum. So if they want to launch, they really have to take a multi-pronged approach, whether it's shelf, paid social, organic social, TikTok, Amazon, whatever the case may be. And ideally, you could have one cohesive strategy that you kind of launch in all ways. A lot of times that's not feasible because of budget constraints.
Mhm.
And if a brand asks me, as a matter of fact, I just ended a consultancy with a startup supplement brand that's set to launch this summer. And they were paying me for my opinion, and I knew their budget. And I was like, I would, of course, you create your listings and you be available on Amazon. But I am advising them to really invest in organic social, paid social, especially TikTok.
Yeah.
And
So
they're doing so.
the past
Mhm,
few months, you've been working with service providers, brands, and really connecting people with
mhm,
services. And because I mean, I've actually talked about this a few times on the
mhm,
podcast that like
mhm.
there's like 40 Amazon advertising tools, and
There's a lot.
some of them, like the everyone's kind of, if you're a large brand, you've probably used one. There's a friction to moving to another platform that may or may not be better, or maybe they charge 1% or 2% of ad spend. Like it gets really expensive, um, and um, you know, shortcutting that Google search route or like the five demos of, and maybe you
Mhm,
talk to someone that knows something, or maybe you don't.
mhm.
Recommendations are more valuable now than ever. Um, and so that's the space that you've lived in for a little while. Like, what are you
Yeah.
finding is
Mhm,
most helpful
mhm.
for brands? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's something that I definitely didn't fall into. So I fell into ecom. It was 2012, 2013. It just kind of happened. I asked a couple questions, then all of a sudden I was running ecom for Mega Food just because nobody knew what to do. So I was the first one who volunteered to figure it out. But what I've done is I've taken that experience, and to back up a little bit, being on both sides of the sales cycle, whether I was an agency selling to a brand or a brand evaluating service providers, that gave me a very good perspective on how it can be improved. And what I find is, when I'm working with a brand, the first thing I need to figure out is what they are trying to do, what they're solving for. And you would be surprised, a lot of brands, especially smaller ones, and by small, I mean doing less than $5 million a year on Amazon, right? Um, Especially smaller ones, they know that they need help and they know that they need third party service providers, but they don't know exactly what they're solving for. Like, we just want to sell more, or we want to improve margins or EBITDA, or we want to take this market share. A lot of times it's not very sophisticated or nuanced. So I feel like my first job is to really figure out what they're solving for. And then I probably have 30 to 35 different referral partners within
Okay.
my network. And that spans everything from 3PL to web dev to paid ads, goes on and on and on, right? So I have like 3 to 4 go-tos around in each like service or subservice
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. And where I add value is I distill down with the brand what they really need and when they need it. Mostly smaller brands have limited budgets, so you have to prioritize. And then what I could do is I could save them time. You
Hmm.
know, this giant service provider isn't going to be the best fit for the brand that does $2 million a year on Amazon, or vice versa, right?
And
Go ahead.
and I think we can circle this back to like
Mhm.
the we didn't I didn't expect to talk about CPGs forever, but like
Yeah, it's fine.
that uh, you were telling me earlier that where brands are thinking and talking now, especially new challenger brands, is like the organic social, the paid social, the
Mhm.
TikToks,
Mhm.
and people want a playbook. They want to know. They want to know what tools are out there. They want to know what services are out there. Like what actually like moves the needle. And so uh, take it away. Let's say
Okay.
you're talking to a new uh, uh, vitamin gummy brand. I don't know. You
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
me what's most applicable.
They so let's drill down on TikTok a little bit, right? So a lot of brands who I speak with at least know that they should be doing it. So a lot of that fear is kind of going away a little bit. They know that they should be doing it, but they get nervous for a few different reasons. The first reason is, will it be banned? And let me state this. I don't have any inside info here. I don't have a bat line into Congress or the White House. But in my humble opinion, I think too many people make too much money on TikTok for it to go away. So I think TikTok in the US is here to stay. So let me just level set with that.
And even if it doesn't, like it's still getting replicated in every other uh,
Correct. Yeah.
like
Mhm.
this Instagram like same
And
strategy.
YouTube Reels and YouTube
Yeah,
Shorts. My kids watch YouTube Shorts all day,
yeah,
which I probably shouldn't admit. But anyways, so it's once I, quell that fear, it's just a lot of unknown. It's just naivety, which is perfectly fine, right? Because they're just wrapping their heads around paid ads on Google or launching on Amazon or whatever the case may be. It's all right. So how do we get content? How do we pick creators? How do we pick a partner? What does this cost? And the brands that I speak with are smaller brands. So if they want to launch somewhere, they need to outsource it. Right. And so what I guide them again, I distill it back to what they are trying to accomplish. And then I tell them why I'm bullish on TikTok. I'm bullish on TikTok for a few different reasons. One, TikTok solves for several different things. It increases your brand profile. It fills the top of the funnel. You could point it wherever you want to point it. And then if you want to keep it self-contained within TikTok shops, it's a revenue
yeah.
vehicle, right? So it solves for several different things. Where TikTok gets tricky from a management perspective is content. It's built on content, period. And the thing about TikTok is its content is pretty unique because of the length of the reels and the unlimited scroll and the live selling. So finding the right service provider to help guide them and help do the work. Do we need influencers? Do we need affiliates? Do we need both? What's the difference? How do we
Well,
split up the funds? How do we split up the money?
okay.
Those are all
Are most of these answers like? Is this like a TikTok shop agency or a service provider?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are TikTok shop service providers and TikTok service providers, and then ones that do both. Shops is when you actually are running the revenue and you could purchase the
Yeah.
product and the payment is processed and all that nature. Or you could just use TikTok for brand awareness or to drive traffic to your site or whatever the case may be. Another place is where they're nervous is choosing service providers. And I really want to drill down on this because all I do is speak with brands and service providers all day outside of servicing, my current clients, but
Yeah.
is speak with brands and service providers all day. And what I'm finding is third party service providers, like full service agencies, a lot of their prospects that they're trying to pitch for Amazon or Google Ads, these brands are saying, but what about TikTok? What about TikTok? What about TikTok? And they're finding they're losing business when they say, well, we don't handle TikTok. So somebody leaves, and so their response is just kicking up a TikTok section because they hire somebody who used to do TikTok from another service provider or something. And quite frankly, that makes me nervous. I don't like when brands just add services immediately and then want you to sign up for them and then help them work out the kinks while you pay them. Right.
Yeah.
So finding a partner with a proven track record that's a certified partner of TikTok that can show you brands and show you revenue and how they've grown from a standstill within your category. When brands find service providers and the service provider, depending on what it is. Listen, if you're an ads platform, you could be category agnostic. But if you're running TikTok or if you're a full service agency, having some experience or specializing in knowing a category like bars or vitamins, um, I think is very important. And then what size brands do they service? Are they working with Philips and Procter and Gamble, or are they working with brands of all shapes and sizes, with small budgets, big budgets, standstills, and driving them to those two or three service providers who I work with a lot? That's where I add value.
Interesting. You know, there's um, you TikTok is so new that you actually don't see a lot of good guides. I mean, there's not like a playbook that like everyone's like running out. Like if you Google or go on YouTube, you know, give me a 5-step launch strategy on Amazon, you're gonna get drowned in information. And like I get
Around and and a
TikTok is
lot of
just
people are
yeah
standing in front of rented Lamborghinis, and they're going to
yeah.
tell you,
There's
dude.
not a lot of people in front of rented Lamborghinis that are saying like I know TikTok. I mean,
Mhm,
I'm sure you could probably find someone, but like what you said, that it's kind of like a bolted on service to like an existing service, and that doesn't sound
mhm,
exciting. But people that like, you know, this is all they do, this is what they think about of like uh, growing awareness, growing top of funnel. Like,
mhm.
how valuable slash hard is that for brands these days? It's like as the I've heard this phrase, and I think about it like the cost to launch a product and source and all that is approaching zero, but the cost to get attention is like approaching infinity. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so like, you know, we're more connected to like manufacturers and they're driving down costs and everyone's making like this possible, but like to actually get consumers eyeballs that could like become
Mhm.
fans, it's
It's
hard.
loud.
And
It's
and those that are doing it, like the brands that I talked about, that are like growing from 0 to 50 million on Amazon, like there is outside Amazon strategies all over.
it's table stakes now.
Yeah.
If you want to make real waves, it's table stakes. And another layer to that is brick and mortar, which I do not subscribe to. Brick and mortar's dead. Yes, in some cats and subcategories, that's the case. But where I live, brick and mortar is not dead. So I specialize in sports nutrition, vitamins, minerals, and supplements, and pet for the most part. Um, people people still shop for those things in store. So when you're a small to medium sized brand and you're trying to crack into a large retailer, excuse me, a lot of these larger retailers, they want you to do all the work to get the product off their shelves, right? And they're going to charge you a ton of co-op dollars to run ads within their media network. Excuse me. And so I've worked with brands that tell me when the brick and mortar stores are evaluating them, they look at everything. meaning their social following, their social revenue, their Amazon revenue. They look at everything that's happening outside of their store so they can have a good idea that there's already demand for that product. They don't want to work with you to drive demand. They want to capture the demand that you're creating. And to me, TikTok is the number one vehicle for that now. And ironically enough, in 2025, related to how much other things cost as far as ads are concerned, very cost effective. It's very cost effective. If you are good at what you do and you find the right affiliates and the right size influencers, you can make waves without breaking the bank.
Okay. Well, I totally agree with you. I see like this is a trend. This is like not like you said, it's table stakes. It's really relevant, important. I'm gonna as we kind of like circle around this, I'm gonna throw one scenario at you, and let's try and see if we can get an opinion. Um, so I see some brands doing a and a pray approach to creators. You know,
Okay.
they'll give out 1,000 samples, and like hopefully half of them end up following through and create a video, and maybe a percentage of those go semi viral. Let's just say 100,000 views, like something that's like noticeable.
Mhm.
Um, that approach, that, or like where you do have like a targeted brand partner affiliates, that it's 3 to 5
Mhm.
known people. Which direction do you think is better?
I think when you're working with influencers and affiliates, I think a good mix of both is good. From influencers, I would look for micro influencers for most brands, at least the brands that I work with, say $50 million or less in total revenue. Because the macro ones, the really large ones with the 5, 6 million followers, people are already conditioned that they see them hawking so many different products that they know they're kind of watching a commercial when they see their reels, right? Where if you find somebody with 15 to 20,000 followers that say it's a mom that focuses on healthy kids, and all of her products that she plugs kind of revolve around that, there's a greater amount of trust there. So when you work with your TikTok service provider, really get dialed in with the size and the category of influencer that you choose to work with. With affiliates, you just really need to be careful about where they're running their ads and what they're running their ads on. So are they running competitor ads? Are you an outlier to the ads that they're serving? Meaning,
So um,
go ahead.
we used the term. I probably use these interchangeably too often, but like
Mhm.
influencer versus affiliate.
Mhm.
Affiliates are like they're making a cut of the sale, so they're sales driven and incentivized. Influencers more of like hey, here's 10 grand, do your thing. Um,
Yes, for the most part. Now, there are situations where influencers will get a cut, but
yeah,
affiliates, that's all they do,
okay.
right?
And
So,
these
it,
affiliates are these like social video affiliates?
mhm, yes, they could be social affiliates. They could be YouTube affiliates, meaning running ads on YouTube, running ads on
Okay.
Google. Yeah, like I've seen affiliates, speaking of top 10 lists, if you hop off this call and you search like top 10 Amazon agencies, you'll see 6 different lists with all different names of all different sorts of agencies, and a lot of those are sponsored and it's affiliates pushing the agencies that they're affiliated with, or top
Interesting.
10 drinks, or top 10. They're completely fabricated and made up. It's just the 10 that they're getting paid on, right? So that's why you have to sort of like distill it down to exactly who you want to work with. And again, I'm speaking specifically to the type of brands that I work with, small to medium sized brands in like higher level premium vitamin, minerals, and supplements and pet and sports nutrition. So you want to split those between influencers and affiliates depending on your budget. Supply them, you have to seed product, you have to pay referrals, and sometimes, physically pay the
Um,
influencers,
uh,
and then you
there,
could run the ads as well.
there's one brand I think I'm just gonna throw them out. They're called Nello.
Hmm.
They it's a supplement, and I know their affiliate program. They have like an affiliate program where it's like you sell this much, we're gonna give you this, and like it even tops out at a Lamborghini. It's like if you sell, let's say 10,000 units, we'll get you a Lamborghini. It's probably the number might be like 100,000, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Uh-huh.
it's this like it's very interesting that they've used this and just compounded and grown to like build out so many people that are leaning in and promoting their product. And
Service providers do it.
okay,
I mean,
yeah,
I've worked with Helium 10, and their affiliate program is very robust.
yeah,
There's tiers, there's bronze, there's silver, there's
yeah,
gold. You could get X amount of dollars. You could get TVs, like all kinds of stuff. And it works for them.
it does.
This,
We work with affiliates, and
Mhm.
there's like money we give them, but there's something about putting a product in front of them, like a MacBook, or we've done all this that gets them going more. We've even done a dinner for actually this is relevant for the event that we do. Sellers United, which is like a wholesale sellers focused.
Mhm.
For all the best affiliates, people that like helped bring people to come and attend, we just did a dinner for them to like thank them. But that dinner becomes like uh, something that like for them it's more valuable than money. It's it's
it's
like
something about the human psyche, which quite frankly is beyond my pay grade to, figure it out because I really don't know what it is, but I know what you're talking about exactly. And it even works with me, right? So if I have a partner who, if I send a lead to, they pay me 500 bucks, that's great. But if they were like, we'll cover your hotel room to go to this show, even if the hotel room is less than $500, I still feel like I'm winning more. Even if the hotel room is 300,
uh, that's uh,
right? It's just weird like that.
hey,
Like, oh, I got
I
my
think about
hotel
this.
room covered.
I think about this
Yeah.
all the time. I had a shower thought 2 days ago where I had some people on my team, like
Hmm.
we paid 2,500 pounds, British pounds per
Hmm.
uh, person to be at this dinner. And I was like, I know who the guests are. They're like leaders of brands in Europe. And I was like, this is worth it. And I'm like, why didn't we give them like I don't know a box of chocolates from a locally sourced chocolate thing of like just like
Hmm.
six little like chocolates and just like hey I brought something for you and it has like their name on it like that human touch just goes so far.
There's thought behind it. And I think that doing things like that are going to be valued more as time goes on because everything we're doing is automated
Yeah.
and everything we push for is automation. And human interaction and human touch is going to be more valuable than ever. And ironically enough, I tell my kids that. My one daughter is interested in psychology. She's fascinated by it. And I'm like, lean into that.
Hmm.
Like, lean into your EQ because there's going to be some machine that gobbles up your IQ that just does it better than you do.
Yeah.
Right. So lean into your EQ. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too much on a tangent there, but
I mean, I'll totally agree with you. There's a reason that people listen to podcasts and don't listen to Chat GPT telling them like, you know, a 30-minute dissertation with like sources and this of like how things are
Mhm.
going. There's
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
more. You gave some opinions based off of your experience that they're a little bit more trustworthy. Um, there's nuance in in building brands and If you want a regurgitation of what the internet says, talk to a chatbot. If you
Yeah,
want
it's a
gut,
plagiarism machine,
yeah.
right? Like
If you
that's
want
kind of
gut
what it is. It's a
and
plagiarism machine.
takes and nuance and how you solve a problem that the internet isn't perfectly capable of connecting. I think that's where you fit in.
Yeah, it's and to take that one step further, if you disagree with me, or if you want to push back, or if you want to expand on the conversation, or whatever iteration of that, you can shoot me an email. We could hop on a call. We could meet at a trade show. We could have a coffee, and we could
Yeah,
get into it, not aggressively, but we could chop it up
sure.
and talk about it. Like you can only put in so many prompts and
Well,
expect to get something back different.
Rob, excited that thanks for coming on and chatting. And this conversation went even better than I had expected. I expected a lot, but the
Awesome.
fact that I got to talk about you know protein bars that I'm buying and eating, and just having fun with that,
Uh-huh.
that made it all the better. If people want to get a hold of you, reach out. Where can they get you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm very active there. I accept all connection requests, even people who want to manage my finances. Your network can never be too big. Or you could shoot me an email at principe at etail-advisors.com. And I'll respond, and my phone number is right in that email signature. And a quick note, I think this is will come out too late, but you could find me at Pattern Accelerate. I'll be at Super Zoo in August. I'll be at Newtopia, and I'll be at Amazon Accelerate in
All
September.
right. I'll be at Amazon Accelerate as well. So looking forward to
We're
it.
going to have a good time with it. All right.
That's right.
Thank you so much for having me,
Thanks,
Scott. I
Rob.
really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That's the pod. We'll catch you next one. And there you go.
1, 2, 3.